These are our people.
Our people, Charlie.
Are awful. They got gifted free will, and look what they did with it. Everything's terrible.
What is this, kitty? A crossover video? Yes, Catherine, now stop quoting BoJack. But Vivian Matrano likes it. Apparently, that's where Stella's backstory is coming from. Well, this isn't a BoJack video. Hi, I'm Kitty Monk, and I'm here to talk to you about Helluva Boss and Hazbin Hotel. So I'm here to talk to you about the Helluverse, because they have a name. Or more specifically, the topic of daddies. Not like that. Just normal dads. Now, Helluva Boss and Hazbin Hotel both focus on the topic of parenting, and they feature the topic of parents, especially dads. I mean, Serpentious is basically a dad to his egg boys at times.
Oh, yeah. I told Boss about it months ago.
He what? What? They say insane all the time. How was I supposed to know this one was true?
Lucifer wants to rebuild his relationship with his daughter after his depression caused him to withdraw from both her and society for 7 years. Oh, coincidentally, Alastor wants to position himself in a position of power by guiding Charlie's potential as a leader, by seeming like a calming, caring paternal influence when really he just sees her as a pawn or a glorified show dog. Heck, while I'm not gonna review it since we don't know how Adam was with his own children, he was the father of mankind, and now he pays back his great whatever offspring by permanently killing them once or twice a year. And not even like, oh, I have to do it. He treats it more like real life GTA than a proper punishment, like, oh, this is gonna hurt me a lot more than it hurts you. And Helluva Boss I talk about enough already. But a question I ask, and a question Hazbin Hotel has asked, is who is Hell's greatest dad? The greatest father in all of Hell that puts all other fathers to shame. So we're going to focus on 4 potential candidates. I narrowed it down. In Hazbin, we have Alastor and Lucifer. In Helluva Boss, we're going to focus on Stolas and Blitz, since they're the primary focus, and several episodes compare and contrast them as fathers. So, who is Hell's greatest dad? Well, let's discuss. One of these Szanto will adopt me. It's Blitz. Boo! Bring Rosie back! Or I'm gonna eat you. You're not Susan, Catherine, and I can't curse on here, so no. But yeah, I'm sorry, it's Blitz. Well, no need for this video then. There is always a need for something, Catherine. Okay, so why do I personally think it's Blitz? Well, I'm just gonna leave him till the end. Make it nice and juicy like he would like. But let's start off with Hazbin, since I don't talk about it as often as Helluva Boss, since there is a lot less content to cover. In Hazbin, Charlie's whole quest is to redeem sinners and help them, rather than have them slaughtered each year, by hoping they ascend to heaven by becoming good people, which is a noble goal. And as Alastor says, while she is highly motivated to help her people, and as Husk and Vox say she's basically a Princess Bleeding Heart, she is also motivated for another reason. She wants her father's approval and his love, since he never supported her dreams.
Lucifer's delusional daughter, Charlotte Morningstar. Come place your fate in her inexperienced hands as she tries to work through her daddy issues by fixing you.
I mean, it's on the nose, but he's got a point. Wow, her and Blitz actually have something in common. Sucks they can never cross over. In Season 1, Charlie has gotten 2 potential clients for redemption, Angel Dust and Serpentious, and we know from outside sources that Angel has daddy issues too, but I assume Seasons 2 onward, probably Season 3 and 4, will handle them. By Episode 5, they have a problem, as the next extermination is in less than a month, and Charlie has made 0 progress. I mean, they are obviously improving and progressing as people, but not enough to get into heaven, since nobody knows what can get a soul into heaven. So the others tell Charlie that she should call up her father, who is the literal devil, and ask him for help, since he used to be in heaven and he has some kind of diplomatic pull, which she isn't willing to do.
We just have never been close. After he and Mom split, he never really wanted to see me. He calls sometimes, but only if he's bored or like needs me to do something.
Alright, I'm gonna bring this up since it'll be a common theme in this video, and it was a common theme in Stella's video, and it's one of my personal beliefs. 2 things can be true, especially in familial conflicts, because stuff is complicated. You can love your child and still be a bad parent, either because of mistakes on your end or because the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Now, I have to argue Lucifer is a good dad because he loves Charlie. That's the main argument I get. He loves his daughter above all else besides Lilith, and he would do anything for her. And he inspired her enough that she took on his dreams as her own. I mean, he literally keeps his workspace littered with pictures of her and Lilith back when they were all happy.
Hold the applause, please. Okay. Thank you. Oh, God. Who am I kidding? This sucks.
Heck, he even keeps his wedding ring on at all times, showing he does massively miss her. And if you look at a picture in the background with him and Frederick von Eldritch in the background, he's wearing the coat that Charlie now wears, almost as if he gave it to her to wear, because it is a little big on her, almost as if she wants to be like him to impress him. But yes, even the episode points out he's a bad father in the sense of how he acts in the modern day. After Lilith left him 7 years ago, as in according to the playbill they just separated, my headcanon is Lilith probably just fled in the middle of the night or something and packed a bag, he entered into a depression and left the care of hell to the Sins, primarily Satan, while also neglecting his relationship with his own daughter. Growing up, he and Charlie were close, but after a certain point, he only truly contacted her if he needed something, like meeting Adam on his behalf, since he probably was in no mood to talk to Lilith's ex. And no, I don't buy into the theory that Lilith was like taking Charlie away permanently. I just feel like it was something like Charlie was up too late so Lilith took her to bed. Or Eve or whatever, because I hear the theories, but no, I don't think like they were taking Charlie away and she never saw her dad ever again. It's just, I don't like that theory. But yes, we know he loves Charlie and he just doesn't want her to get hurt. But again, the way he's doing this isn't actually helping matters. And he doesn't communicate that or the reason why he's doing all this until it's too late. And when he does, because he's the sin of pride, it's in the most condescending way possible to Lucy, because he was cursed by heaven to only see the bad of humanity. After giving them free will, he doesn't think sinners are worthy of redemption. And it doesn't help he tried and failed with them several times over, so he feels like he knows what he's talking about. But to prove his point to Charlie, his version of it is to basically be like that divorced father who tries to offer you all sorts of gifts and vacations without actually caring about your own interests or wants or needs. Just to say he tried. Like, it is cool, I do like how he was around Vaggie.
She's my girlfriend.
Oh my golly, you like girls. Yes, so do I. We have so much in common. You put her there, Maggie. Yeah. She's so pretty.
But that's pretty much it. And then to prove his point further, when Alastor is protecting the hotel, he smugly tells Charlie something like, "Oh look, those sinners are being bloodthirsty, I told you so."
What'd I tell you? Charlie. Sinners are violent psychopaths, hell-bent on causing as much pain and destruction as they can.
Even if Charlie has to be the one to point out to him that the bloodthirstiness is actually helping for once.
It may be a bit more sadistic than I'd hoped, but he's doing it for me. How come he can have faith in me, but my own father can't?
Also, Lucy, if you were paying attention, everybody else was technically being selfless. Serpentius was rescuing Nifty when he could have just ran and hide. Nifty was gathering the glass.
It doesn't matter how well-intentioned you are. They're always gonna disappoint you.
Nifty, come along.
Because, yeah, those were her windows, but they're also Charlie's windows. Angel and Husk were barricading the place and trying to protect everybody. Vaggie was going to go out there and deal with the problem, be it to attack them or tell them to leave, at least until Alastor said he would be the one to help, and Charlie already pointed out Alastor's deal, even if we know for a fact he's probably only doing it to show up to Lucifer and to put his name out there after being gone for 7 years.
A reminder to all, not to mess with the radio demon.
But as far as Charlie knows, by her own logic, everybody is helping, including Alastor. Literally, it was only Mimsy who was acting bloodthirsty and selfish, and Alastor only agreed to shelter her because she was his friend. And when the problem was dealt with and Lucifer wasn't even in earshot, he told her to leave because she was going to ruin everything. And redemption likely wasn't her cup of tea. I mean, if it ever was, she would be welcome, but you know what I mean.
I mean it. You deliberately brought danger to this place just to have me clean up your mess. I can't have that here.
So, yeah, you are kind of wrong here, dude. But one song and dance later, more than anything, and Charlie and Lucy are on better terms and willing to start over. And Lucifer decides to use his pull to help Charlie by getting her an audience with heaven, even if he admits he can't be with her. Whether or not it's because he was banished like the cherubs or just due to personal trauma, we don't know. Maybe it's a mix of both, but he can't go.
I won't be able to go with you. Will you be okay?
I'll be fine.
That's my girl. Good luck, kiddo.
In heaven, obviously Charlie is rejected and Adam has decided to target the hotel first, just to punish her. But Lucy isn't there, which I have two theories on why. One, either Charlie didn't want to disappoint him again by proving him right, so to speak, so she tried to handle the problem herself, especially since, as far as she knows, she caused it by cursing out the elders. Or two, we know from Overture that Lucifer bartered a deal with Adam and Lude that the exorcists could come down and exterminate the sinners so long as they only target the sinners, and not the Hellborn, which is a good excuse for why Helluva Boss and Hazbin likely won't intersect BTW.
The only reason you're still here is because Daddy gave you and your Hellborn kind a pardon from an exorcist blade. How does that feel? To know how little you matter.
But Charlie herself counts as Hellborn since she was born in Hell, and Adam was breaking that rule by killing her, so maybe as part of the deal, Lucifer just couldn't get involved even if he wanted to, until they started hurting his own daughter. And before you say anything, he outright said,
Sorry I wasn't here sooner, sweetie.
So yep, he knows what he's doing. And honestly, I do kind of like the theory that he was supposed to be in Mastermind, even if I do think it probably wouldn't line up timeline-wise, but eh. Yeah, so to me, it's definitely the latter, but I wouldn't be surprised about the former, especially considering his comment about getting there too late. Now this is where I feel like Lucy 100% repaired his relationship with Charlie. He beats the tar out of Adam for threatening Charlie, and he decides he is going to do a thing.
How many of you freaks do I have to fight?
Oh, I'm the only one that matters. See, you messed with my daughter, and now I am going to
Feed the fish.
He is a total dad. Him and his ducks and his dad lines. Ooh, rubber ducky bath time songs. But he does rescue Charlie, then goes on to pummel Adam, and would have likely ended him then and there had Charlie not intervened.
Whoa, Dad. He's had enough.
Yeah, Dad, the genocidal maniac with anger problems who heaven hasn't leashed in 10,000 years and who is basically a spoiled, racist, sexist child has had enough. Stop it! But just the fact he actually listened to Charlie, be it because Charlie sees the good in all, or kind of like Vaggie and Lude, wants to show that they are better people and maybe he could give redemption a try, is pretty big. He listens, just ignores Adam when he goes on his little tirade, rant, and then when Charlie has her big show-stopping sad finale number, he's the one to reassure her that even if, hey, they lost their pensions, she's still making progress. It's not about the hotel, it's about the friends we make along the way. She even managed to convince him that dreams were once again worth fighting for, that she really proved herself as a princess. He even rallies her friends behind her to rebuild the hotel bigger and better than before, fixing it using Kiki as a Beyblade, and it's spectacular and loving. And per some interviews and the ending of season 1, Lucifer is finally going to stop being a hermit and actually live with Charlie. That way he can help her achieve her dreams and be by her side always. Plus, hey, it would be good to attract patrons to the hotel. So I think in terms of Hazbin Hotel, Lucifer is the best dad. Mostly because so far he's the only father we've seen in action, but still. He started off as pretty weak as a father, as his only positive trait was loving his daughter. But actions speak louder than words, I'd argue. But he is making up for it now, and I cannot wait to see what season 2 does. However, there is one candidate we can cross off our list who is an Adam, and I need to bring him up because if not, I know some of you guys are going to give me flag for it. It's Alastor Altruist. His last name is an altruist. Well, it's not my fault. I don't know how commas work. Okay, Alastor is not a dad, although I feel like sometimes you can adopt kids. Although, unlike Adam, I am going to give him a little more of an entry. Again, I feel like if I don't say something, you guys will say I missed him, so okay. Now, some people in the fandom believe that Alastor now means well, as in maybe while he did initially go to the hotel just to get a laugh out of things, he's come to believe in its mission and gotten some massive character development. But honestly, and you might hate me for saying this, I feel like Alastor is destined to be the show's final villain, or pretty high up on that list, or help whoever is the show's final villain. He even admitted he cared about the hotel's residents to nifty.
Almost makes one sentimental. An enjoyable collective to be around. I admit one could get accustomed.
But the second Adam almost kills him, he decided his reputation was more important than those schmucks. He wasn't gonna die for them. He ran off, had a mental breakdown in private, then came back all smiling. But okay, what about him and Charlie? Well, to me, I feel like he views Charlie as nothing but a means to an end. A favor he can eventually use for some nefarious purpose. And Dead Be Dead fully had that happen. When he notices the hotel setting up for Lucifer because Charlie wants it all to be perfect, he becomes angry, uncharacteristically angry. Because honestly, Alastor is one of those people who feels the need to be the most important person in that room, or the most powerful person, or to have the most attention. And Lucifer, aka the strongest person in hell who could probably squash him like a bug, would be better than him. So he feels the need to talk down to Lucifer, literally in this case, because Lucifer is short king.
Alastor, pleasure to be meeting you, sir. Quite a pleasure. pleasure. It's nice to finally put a face to the name. You are much shorter in real life.
And when that doesn't work because Lucifer has probably heard way worse and can dish out way worse too, he switches tactics. Instead, he positions himself as Charlie's daddy substitute. Because for all intents and purposes, I'm not breaking any barriers here when I say that Lucifer never really did his job as a daddy by supporting her dream. And he knows it. And he knows how much it would suck to be reminded of that. And he goes all out. He engages in like physical contact, hugs, little pet names, etc.
Charlie has a very unique vision. I am happy to fulfill her bizarre requests.
Oh, thank you, Alastor.
I almost forget at times he's faking because it's that cute. Of course, Charlie is too quote-unquote innocent, I'd argue, to notice Alastor is only doing this to show up to Lucifer or maybe manipulate her, and Lucifer won't dare attack one of Charlie's quote-unquote friends, especially when he's trying to befriend her. Therefore, he can get away with it, and he knows it. And even him kicking Mimsy out is pretty calculated too, I'd argue. Yes, Mimsy was supposedly his best friend when he was alive, and maybe still in hell, but she's still too much of a loose cannon that he needs her to go. Husk even warned him that she was trouble because she only goes to him when she needs something, aka when she makes a mess and he needs to be the one to clean it up.
You are welcome if you actually want to give redemption a shot. But I think we both know that's not really your style. So you need to leave.
Despite insisting she wanted to go to catch up with Alastor, she could very easily ruin everything he's working for if she were to go back to the hotel with something more than literal loan sharks. Plus, it works both ways for him when you really think about it. If Mimsy says no, he can prove his commitment to the hotel, that he was even willing to kick out his own friend if it meant keeping everybody safe, keeping his new friend safe. And if Mimsy says yes, he could look super great in front of Charlie like, look at how much I care, more than your daddy. I got you a third client. That's better than your deadbeat father who got you no clients, only ducks. Heck, I'll further argue that he didn't even defend the hotel for her or for Charlie. He defended it for him. Because people were questioning him and considering him weak, especially Lucifer, and especially after Lucifer supposedly forgot or just didn't know who he was because he was gone for 7 years. What better way to prove he was worthy of fear and respect than doing all of this?
Time's sake.
Of course, sweetheart. Everyone is welcome here.
Oh, how nice.
And heck, I'll even say that for the finale. I feel like if he had an angelic weapon, he could have done some damage to Adam, but because he didn't, because he just wanted to prove himself, that's why he almost got killed. Because there are times when some of his little shadow guys do land a hit, or when he lands a hit with his tentacles or something, but no, he doesn't have an angelic weapon, the only thing that can kill Adam. What were you thinking?
What just happened?
Just saying, Alastor, even though he is a selfish person, is also a very insecure person. He wants to prove he's worthy of fear and respect, and what better way to do that than literally eating people? Remember when he was at the Overlord meeting, the only people actually scared or excited to see him were Rosie, like aka his friend who would be excited or scared to see him in any other case? Celestial just brought up the rumor to basically screw with him. Fox just wanted to prove he was better than him. Carmilla literally said she did not care, and in the most polite way possible, but still.
Alastor?
Yes, I know. I've been absent some time. I'm sure you've all been wondering.
Not really, but welcome back in any case.
What a way to hurt his own pride, and his behavior in the later episodes of the season, again, all calculated to manipulate Charlie. Why only act caring and loving like a little mean girl around her when she's at her lowest point, in a point where she can be easily manipulated. Yes, he provides her valuable advice about the power of smiling, but that's about it. Remember, he was only going to tell her about the secret if they were to make a deal, which we know that Charlie was too emotionally exhausted to protest like she did in the pilot. And then once he extracted the deal from Charlie, Charlie likely thinks of him as a friend and confidant now, right? You'd be wrong. When she starts to vent to him, he isn't patiently listening and offering advice the same way Rosie was. He doesn't care in the slightest. He's just like zoning the hell out, like yeah, Baggy did all that, yeah, Baggy's an angel, wow, that sucks. But he needs to seem like he does to keep up appearances and keep her wrapped around down his little finger. At Rosie's, he is polite and everything, and I will be honest, I know he's only doing all this to manipulate Charlie, but I always audibly awe whenever I watch the scene of Charlie getting ready to speak, and he gives her his microphone so she can sing her song. But during Ready for This, he and Rosie both make some telling statements. First off, Alastor says that, yeah, he's very proud that Charlie accomplished what she did because he knew damn well that she could. But then he says that Charlie is filled with potential that he can guide. And then Rosie agrees, meaning he's only going out of his way, potentially the same for Rosie, she's possibly going out of her way, showing Charlie his old friend, giving her an army, allies, whatever, so he can eventually benefit from it. Be it so he can rule hell for her, maybe get out of his deal, maybe groom her for a bigger favor, and he never even tells her what the favor is. Besides, he just can't hurt somebody.
Who's asking? One favor at a time of my choosing where you harm no one. In return, I tell you what I know. Do we have a deal?
And Charlie is the type where I feel like she can't really get out of it unless it's a loophole. And again, this favor could be to marry Charlie so he can claim the throne through marriage. Maybe Charlie takes his place in his deal with whoever his master is. If you quote any leaks in the comments, I will be very mad, but whatever. Plus, yeah, Rosie gave that whole speech like she hasn't seen him in 7 years. BS. She saw him at the Overlord meeting and they were talking and smiling. Maybe she meant she didn't see him at her shop for so long because he was helping out at the hotel, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was all rehearsed or staged or something. Even the first performance with Susan, I mean, obviously Susan probably wasn't staged, but I wouldn't be surprised if Rosie said you need to convince all of them so she could test Charlie's skills as a leader before giving her the army, because I wouldn't be surprised if the army was always going to be given to her, but Rosie needed to be sure she was a sure thing. Granted, I am of the mindset that when Alastor does eventually cash in on the favor, he's gonna make the favor something stupid and minor, that way he can groom her for bigger deals. Like, Charlie, I need you to do me a favor. Can you grab my coat? Oh, thank you, dear. Okay, now I need a bigger favor this time. And yes, he did tell Nifty that he cared about the hotel or the residents, or he was starting to, but Alastor at heart is still a selfish sociopath of a man. He cares about nobody but himself. I mean, maybe he cares about his mother, but that's about it. He might care about the hotel the same way you care about a stray cat. They're cute, but it's not like you're gonna take him in or anything. So no wonder once he gets injured, that all goes out the window and he just runs away.
Have to disagree with you there. Radio's not dead, but it is ending this broadcast.
So yes, in Hazbin, the best father is arguably Lucifer. It's complicated and sad, but he is working to make things better with his daughter, whereas Alastor just wants to profit off of said daughter, and less said about Adam the better. Okay, now let's move on to Helluva Boss. We can easily cross off Crimson, because of his comments and how he didn't support his son. We haven't had enough time with Joe to make a valid point, albeit he and his wife did perpetuate the internalized classism onto Millie, so that leaves Stolas and Blitz. And yes, you might hate me for saying this, I chose Blitz. But let me explain why. Stolas... Okay, we'll start with Stolas. Stolas, I feel he does love Octavia. He loves her above all things. But when you get down to it, he's a pretty bad dad, at least nowadays. Or he makes it seem like it is because he doesn't properly communicate. Obviously, he's leagues better than somebody like Stella or Crimson, but he has some problems that the show is starting to address. And eventually, these all paid off per Sinsmith. See, Stolas' whole thing is that he was engaged to Stella when he was a child in order to sire a precautionary addition to the Goetia family, per payment. Obviously, Stolas is a gay man, and it's a fate worse than death if you're gay to be married to not only a woman, but to a woman who abuses you and treats you horribly.
Why are you still here, despite everything?
I like tormenting you. I want to keep reminding you of what you did.
I know what I did.
However, the only reason he endured it was to give Octavia the idea of a normal life, which, honestly, he accomplished way too well, I hate to argue. Let's take a look at the symbolism for how. In the circus, we see just how lonely Stolas' childhood was. He lived alone in his current castle with only Mr. Butler raising him, forcing him to act a certain way as per a Goetia prince. But dude, it's the kid's birthday, let him be a little excited.
I am old enough to know my purpose and responsibility. party!
Of course, I'm sure it will be wonderful.
And he only saw his father on special occasions, like his birthday, if at that. On top of that, Stolas was implied to have had plenty of siblings, who were implied themselves to have been raised in circumstances similar to him, meaning he could never talk to them or probably interact with them, nor could they bail him out when he needed their help. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't meet Stella until, like, his wedding day. And his father had so many kids and was so busy that he even forgot his own name.
Which son is this one?
Stolas, Your Highness.
Stolas! Yes! right. That's the one. The owl boy.
Heck, let's talk about symbolism. In the circus, we get to see a picture of Stolas as an infant, presumably as a newborn considering how he swaddled. And even from birth, he looks super unhappy. He's crying, his fists are like shaking and doing that little thing babies do. Like, he's cold and unloved. And even the area around him is super bare. There's only a stuffed animal toy, which he has until the present day, and a star pillow. I mean, I feel like realistically, you shouldn't really put anything in a newborn's crib because of reasons that scare me? But it's symbolically so terrible, like he was that unloved. They just considered him a job, basically. But then take a look at the portrait of Via that we got in Sinsmith. She's on a little star pillow, she has a super comfy crib on top of that, she's smiling and stretching her hands out like she wants her father to catch her. We even have a canopy bed, and later a few pics of Stolas holding baby Via with tears in his eyes. Whereas we get none of Stolas, like with anybody except his plants, since they were probably the only living things he was allowed to befriend besides Mr. Butler. And while I am scared of boppies and that whole setup for reasons, you can argue it was a really great choice for the staff to include it, since this seems more like an official portrait, whereas baby Stolas was just a candid pic, showing that Stolas cared so much for his new daughter that he went out of his way to make it official and comforting for her, and he wanted to show everybody how much he loved her and how proud he was of her already. Whereas whoever was raising baby Stolas was like, we need a quick pic at the prince, this is good enough. And even look at how they're swaddled. Like, Stolas has the little Goetia pin attached, which is probably keeping him, like, trapped, whereas Via, it's just a little thing, so she doesn't have anything, it's just Stolas protecting her, which I think is really good. Like, Stolas is a baby, is suffering in the name of the Goetia, but Stolas, in the name of the Goetia, will not pass that on to his daughter. Heck, we even saw later in the episode that while Stolas is miserable and upset in all of his official portraits, like at presumably his wedding or his anniversary or when he came of age, the only time he was smiling and happy was when he got to be around Octavia. With Octavia, her role in the family is to be his precautionary heir, and as Stolas' job is to essentially be the family astronomer, that'll be her role one day. But rather than make it boring and say like, oh, you have to do it, like Payman kinda did to him, Stolas makes it so it seems like a really cool thing she can be interested in. Something awesome sauce, like taking her to a dying solar system to help her fall asleep, or demonstrate that even if he's gone, she'll always be okay, or having special field trips to the surface to see the stars. But now we gotta get into how Stolas isn't a perfect person. While Stolas did break the cycle just a tad, well, he didn't break it completely. I'm not trying to say he's a horrible father. He's a good father. He just makes a lot of mistakes. He just doesn't see what he has long term until it's way too late. He even said it in Sensmiss.
No, never, Via, sweetie, please. You have always been the only good thing in my life.
So does that mean you just stayed miserable because of me?
One problem Payman had as a father, well, I mean, he had many problems, but this is the main one we're gonna discuss, is that rather than provide Stolas a kind word about, say, his future marriage to Stella or how scary she looked, honestly, he gave that kid a pic of that, like he knows his son horribly if he thinks that would impress him, was to offer to take him to the circus. As in, Mr. Butler takes Stolas to the circus with Payman in a mirror so he doesn't have to smell the paw, and he's only doing it to get the kid to shut up. He even says like, oh, I'm only doing it to distract you from your non-negotiable future marriage.
Children enjoy the circus, right? Would that distract you enough from your non-negotiable future marriage?
And later, he only buys Blitz as a friend for Stolas so that he'll shut up.
It's his birthday. He's so sad and I didn't want to deal with him.
When really the best course of action outside of finding Stolas a wife who he would enjoy, Kitty, we went over this. Stolas is gay. He probably wouldn't like any woman. I know, Catherine, I'm speaking in generalities. It worked for Lenore and Rhaenyra, is to sit him down and gently explain why it has to be this way. Or hey, maybe Stella is a nice girl deal if he looks past that, or maybe he just has to do his job and then he doesn't have to see her ever again. Even Cersei told Joffrey he didn't have to see Sansa except to make babies if he didn't want to. Paimon wasn't thinking of what Stolas, the animal lover, wanted. Again, considering how the official portrait has Stella strangling dogs. When Stolas sleeps with Blitz, Stella finds out and starts berating Stolas on the regular.
You are a goddamn embarrassment! I'm not spending another moment looking at your pathetic, imp-sucking face!
Of course, we know why she's doing it, but because he, and honestly also her, I feel, hid their problems that well, Octavia doesn't know that. All she knows is that the father she idolized is now cheating on her mother, and it's made her mother so justifiably angry that she can throw things, and people. However, with the cycle of abuse, it's very hard to see the patterns or admit there are patterns, especially if you have a lot in common with that one parent, like fleas or whatever. You basically tell yourself, oh, I only do this because I'm a good person. You always have an excuse. Whereas it's hard for you to admit, I hate to say, maybe my parent did this because of this, but because I know where they're coming from, because I do stuff similar, I know not to repeat that when I have a child. So Stolas decides to simply cheer Octavia up by taking her to Lululand, even if she outright says she doesn't want to go.
I'm not 5 anymore. I'd rather kill myself.
There we go. Anything but staying in this house.
Now, yes, Stolas had the best intentions, but one, I don't think you should take someone somewhere they outright say they don't want to go to because they're just going to be miserable. And two, that's not what Octavia needs at the moment. She doesn't need to be cheered up. What she needs is a way to express her feelings, actually be allowed to say something. That's why she's been acting so passive-aggressive. She has nobody to talk to, and she's just forced to bottle it up. I said it in my Via video, but what Stolas probably should have done here is sat her down, or at least asked to talk to her when she was ready, told her what was up between him and Stella and the imp, but make the point that she was allowed to feel any type of way against him or Blitz because that was her right. Even ask her if she had any questions. But instead, he decides to take her to Lululand, which is already going to put her in a bad mood, whether it's because it's a place she remembers fondly from her childhood back when her parents were happy, or because she outgrew it. And on top of that, he takes Blitz with him to live out his bodyguard fantasy when honestly, that is the last thing he should be doing. Remember, Blitz has a whole company. He could just ask Moxie and or Millie to go do it. And of all the places he takes Via to in Lululand, they're just painful reminders. Like how Lulu himself is a cheap reminder about how terrible the whole theme park is once you get rid of the nostalgia angle.
This place reeks of insecure corporate shame.
Or how he makes her watch RoboFizz's show because he remembered her liking it when that was the farthest thing from.
Oh, look, Via! You used to cry such tears of joy at this show.
Oh, no.
Granted, I feel like I kinda get why he doesn't completely tell her, since he did try to say that the pair never really loved each other, yet they did put on a happy face for her.
She's always been... I haven't been... We weren't in... I'm sorry, I don't have the words.
But Via still presumably loves her mother, so how exactly do you tell her in a way where she would understand and wouldn't completely shatter her world? However, in terms of breaking the cycle, Stolas might think he is, since he's doing something Octavia used to like. He just needs more time. I mean, come on, he's actually physically there unlike Paimon. Is it no wonder that Via just runs away sobbing?
My, what good aim you have, Blitzy.
Ugh. I can't do this anymore!
Wow, and I thought owls were supposed to be wise. What the hey? But it's only when he does sit her down and explain what's going on, and that he'll always be there for her, and then offer to take her to a place she actually wants to go to, which is Stylish Occult, that she does calm down and apologize for how she's acting, because he also does it.
Thanks, Dad. You're okay sometimes.
Thank you, Via. Thank you.
Which is what you should have done it first, dude! Sorry, I do like Stolas, I just like expressing it in a I'm not mad, just disappointed kind of way. Heck, he does the same thing in Seeing Stars, promising to take Via to go see a meteor shower, but being too preoccupied with getting revenge to remember, when he has a whole staff at the ready who can handle this, as presumably does Andrelphus, and later, being too preoccupied with filming a sitcom with Blitz to go get her, which even she calls him out on to Luna, like, oh, he couldn't even keep his promise?
Your dad's really worried about you.
Right, that's why you're here instead of him. He couldn't be bothered to keep his promise, and now he can't be bothered to come and get me himself.
And finally, in Mastermind, he rushes to go save Blitz, putting his life on the line to do it, and being perfectly okay with dying if it means that his little imp thing can live. And he only brings up the fact he might lose his daughter, or at least custody of her, like afterwards.
But what about my daughter? She'll be safe and sound with her mother.
Is it no wonder that come Sinsmas, this, combined with the discovery of his happy pills, because she doesn't know what they're supposed to do, caused her to leave him?
No, Thea, please. Please!
So, okay, Stolas is quite complicated, and I feel like Season 3 will eventually have the pair come back together. So, why did I choose Blitz? Because, honestly, I feel like Blitz chose to be a dad, and he chose to take on the responsibilities that came with it. And he gave up a lot to adopt Luna. See, he adopted Luna knowing that, like him, she was thrown away by the world, and what she needed most was love. Or somebody to love her, support her, and give her a chance.
Good riddance, if you ask me. She'll never amount to anything much.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's unfair to say, considering how Stolas never chose to be a dad, but when you think about it, he easily could have done what Payman did and just had Octavia, then had her raised by other people while he occasionally checked in on her and her progress. So he does get points, but he still does have problems in that regard. Much like Stolas, Blitz had a bad childhood, even if he had the luxury of his parents right there. His father was an abusive alcoholic who discouraged his dreams and favored somebody who wasn't even his own kid over him, while his mother was around. I mean, I've heard some people say she was probably sick. But yes, I do think Blitz gave up a lot to give Luna the future he never had. For instance, we see in Ozzy's that Blitz's apartment is one bedroom, and Luna has that bedroom while he sleeps on the couch. And as we saw in Seeing Stars, she lived in a prison cell all her life, with bars exposed to the outside world, meaning this is probably the first time she's actually ever had her own space, her own sense of privacy. And we see that Blitz himself has these huge horns even for an imp. So every night, he probably has to endure the worst sleep possible just so his daughter can have her own space. He even gave her a job as a receptionist just so she can have money coming in and some form of stability. Plus, hey, while he can be affectionate, it's a lot better than how most hellhounds are treated.
Look, the point is, Luna is a valued member of our family, and we don't get rid of family.
However, I do think Blitz has a lot of flaws as a father. Don't think he's getting out of this scot-free. For instance, Blitz seems to be one of those dads who wants what's fun about being a dad without any of the actual work or responsibilities that go along with it, and he's willing to spoil Luna or enable her bad behavior just to make it happen. As Moxie puts it, so Blitz can essentially have his little daddy fantasy, he often ignores the fact that Luna is making business worse, both for the other employees and for the customers. She's an overall bitter person who doesn't really respect any of them.
You treat her like she's some troubled teenager. She's more like a meth-addicted homeless woman you let man the phone.
She destroys his presence, she curses at him, she just yells in general, but he never puts his foot down. And when he does in Seeing Stars, it's pretty half-hearted at best. Heck, I'll be honest, until Seeing Stars, I just assumed that legally, Luna was Blitz's pet, not his daughter. But he was so love-starved and insistent on a family that he kept insisting and treating her like a daughter, which only made Luna rebel more because hellhounds are not family. Part of me still thinks that though. And yeah, a lot of it is because of her trauma and the fact she never had a dad before, but Blitz just ignores that because I adopted you, so you should be eternally grateful, or that should get completely wiped away. When unfortunately, that's not how it happens, and because Luna is now legally an adult, it's even worse in that case. If Blitz wanted to help Luna, I feel like he could have gotten her therapy. We know therapy is a thing in hell, realistically, or communicated with her more at least, or been a bit more patient, not like hugging her whenever she yells at him.
Hey, now we don't blame our screw-ups on Luna, okay? She didn't do anything wrong.
Are you kidding me, sir? She's awful.
Plus, there have been times where Luna has been forced to bail Blitz out, like at Queen Bee, where he went crazy after Ozzy's and she had to drive him home because he was too drunk.
Will you be there, Looney?
Be where?
It's lonely. I won't die alone.
I'll be there, Dad.
However, I do think they are improving their relationship, and I can't wait to see what Season 3 does. It was really cute how in the last episode she called him Dad.
Sir,
Dad.
You're here.
So between Lucifer and Blitz, who is the better father? Well, honestly, I don't know. I only picked Blitz because to me, he is the better one, mostly because of general preference, since Blitz is one of my favorite characters. Plus, I feel like we've gotten more time with Blitz that we were able to see him progress as a father. Whereas Lucy, he was only in 2 real episodes. Maybe it's a bit unfair, but that's just me. Still, there are some areas I feel Lucy is a bit better at, like using a firm hand, or at least trying to explain how and why it is, but I've prattled on long enough, so bye.